No matter how dark things seem to be, or how desperate it seems, there is something you should know. Let the love of God still flows. God answers prayer. You need to know He's always there. When you stand in faith and pray, believing, trusting God in the start receiving, to know how much He cares. God answers, oh God answers prayer.
Jeremiah 33:3 says, "Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and I will show thee great and mighty things thou knowest not."
Join us now to hear great and mighty things that have happened in the lives of people who have been changed through our Lord Jesus as they share their testimonies of how God answers prayer.
Welcome to God Answers Prayer. I'm Linda Tiano, your host, and today I want to encourage you. Keep your eyes upon Yeshua and look full. It's a song actually, but look full in His lovely face, for the things of this earth are strangely dim. When we look in His face, they go. So know that God answers prayer, that He loves you. And I want to share a psalm today. It's Psalm 138 from the Passion Translation. I thank you, Lord, and with all the passion of my heart, I worship you in the presence of angels. Heaven's mighty ones will hear my voice as I sing my loving praise to you. I bow down before your divine presence and bring you my deepest worship as I experience your tender love and your living truth. For your word and the name of your name have been magnified above all else. At the very moment I called out to you, you answered me. You strengthened me deep within my soul and breathed fresh courage into me. One day, all the kings of the earth will rise to give you thanks when they hear the living words that I have heard you speak. They too will sing of your wonderful ways, for your ineffable glory is great. For though you are lofty and exalted, you stoop to embrace the lowly, yet you keep your distance from those filled with pride. By your mighty power, I can walk through any devastation, and you will keep me alive, reviving me. Your power set me free from the hatred of my enemies. You keep every promise you ever made to me. Since your love for me is constant and endless, I ask you, Lord, to finish every good thing that you've begun in me. What a beautiful scripture. Our worship to our King is key to Him meeting with us. No matter where we see ourselves, He cares and He will stoop to embrace us. Chaplain Joe Dudziak has taken this scripture to heart and is allowing Yeshua to be the one who reaches out to those who are often outcast and forgotten. Each one of us has a story of the love of our Father, and today we're going to hear Joe's story. We'll be right back after this.
One star burns in the darkness, shines with a promise, Emmanuel.
One child born in the stillness, living within us, Emmanuel.
We're singing glory, glory, oh, let there be peace, let there be peace. We're singing glory, glory, oh, let there be peace, let it start in me.
One voice speaks for the voiceless, hope for the hopeless, Emmanuel.
One love brings us together, now and forever, Emmanuel. We're singing glory, glory, it start in me. Do not be afraid. His love is strong enough to save us. Nothing stands in the way. His love is strong enough to lead us. Do not be afraid. His love is strong enough to save us. Nothing stands in the way. His love is strong enough to lead us. We're singing glory, glory. Oh, let there be peace. Let there be peace. We're singing glory, glory. Oh, let there be peace. Let it start in me. We're singing glory, glory. Oh, let there be peace. Let there be peace. We're singing glory, glory. Let there be peace. Let it start in me. Oh, let there be peace. Let it start in me.
Well, welcome back. I'm here with Chaplain Joe Dudziak, who's the founder of Chaplain Joe's Street Outreach, and also Steve Brugger is here with us today. Welcome. It's good to have you here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So, Joe, let's start out with you. Let's hear your story.
Okay.
Are you from Santa Fe or from Albuquerque or New Mexico
I
originally?
am from northern New Mexico originally. I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran. I was a carpenter. I worked construction industry, carpenter, estimating, project manager for many, many years, and then I was a building inspector for many years.
Oh, okay.
And I guess my story would be, throughout life I have moved closer and further away from God, just depending on the circumstances and all. And then, I guess my main calling, I guess you'd call it, or my life calling, I believe it is, happened about 11 or 12 years ago. I started volunteering at Pete's Place in Santa Fe. It's a unhoused a homeless shelter. And I still volunteer to this day. And I really found a calling in serving, helping and serving the homeless. It really became a calling to me. I could really relate to the people. I could see them as the human being that they are. I could see past the behavior, the substance abuse sometimes, and I could see past that and just see right into the person and the human being that they are, because their behavior, the way they look, the way they act, that isn't who they are. Particularly, if somebody has mental illness or drug abuse, or just being unhoused is a very traumatic situation that would make anybody not be able to think clearly.
Right. Well, I think about Yeshua. That's exactly how he looked at people. He saw them with his Father's eyes.
Yes, absolutely.
And then reacted from his Father's heart.
Yes.
And I think it's something that we all have to learn going through life. But when did your faith journey start?
Well, like I said, throughout my life, I had, it started when I was born, or before. But, really throughout life, I'd moved closer to the Lord and then further away and then closer. So I guess when I got started to get closer than I ever had been, it was probably, 11 or 12 years ago when I started, I hadn't attended church for a long time. I started attending church. The church hosted the dinner the first week of the winter season at the shelter. And so that, it kind of progressively, things kind of progressed. And so through my church, I started going for the first few days, the first week. And then I really found a calling to do that. So I did get on what they call the core teams, to where I went like once or twice an evening a week. And that the core teams are people that are a little bit more experienced with the process, where you do
Right.
the door check, the registration of the guests, I was a team leader eventually, to where, I was kind of in charge of the evenings, and so that kind of started it. And then it was kind of interesting. I would never thought I would be a chaplain. I never planned on doing it. And I don't have, the kind of chaplain I am is an IFOC chaplain, International Fellowship of Chaplains, and they actually have some training here in Albuquerque sometime pretty shortly, in the next month or two. And a coworker told me, hey, there's a chaplain group I think you might be interested in. We meet once a month. And, I was thinking, I didn't really know the difference between chaplain and preacher. And some chaplains do preach. But, I'm thinking, well, I'm not interested in preaching. That's not what I'm called to do. I'm more interested in helping the distraught. And this woman from work, the next month, she brought me this typewritten 4 pages of how to deal with distraught people and how to de-escalate situations.
Wow.
And I looked at that and I go, whoa, this is exactly what I need to learn and what I want to do. And even then I'm like, well, I'll just go to the meetings. I don't want to be a chaplain. And then it just evolved to where I did become a chaplain. And that was about 4 or 5 years ago, I think maybe 5. And the IFOC, the kind of chaplainships they are, is you don't have to have a formal education. You do get a lot of training. So I have had a lot of training. And what it is it's mostly for disaster response, hurricanes, tornadoes, fires. It's also police and fire chaplain. I am actually a chaplain with the Los Alamos County Fire and Police.
Okay.
And so it's that kind of chaplain dealing with distraught people. And, eventually going to the trainings and all, it's like, well, you know what, this training's right up my alley. I don't deal with the disaster stuff and the disaster response, but you're dealing with distraught people. And that's what you are with the unhoused. Unhoused people are very distraught.
Right.
And, the kind of chaplain I am, I always tell people I'm not a preaching chaplain, I'm a listening chaplain. And, a lot of times, actually not even just the unhoused, a lot of the times that's what people need, but
Sure.
particularly the unhoused. They need somebody to listen to them and hear their story. And, so that's I was really called towards that.
That's beautiful.
Yes, and then can I share a couple of Bible verses?
Sure.
Okay. So the one I sent in was, the Lord will fulfill his purpose for me. And so I really believe, this is bigger than me. I believe that the Lord is fulfilling his purpose. And another Bible verse would be Matthew 29. And I have it written down. I don't have it up here. I have it in here.
Yeah.
And, okay, so for I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. And the king will answer them, truly I say unto you, as you did it to the one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me.
Amen.
So those two kind of tie in, his purpose for me, and then right here he's spelling out a good purpose.
So Steve, tell us about you.
I'm Chaplain Joe Street Outreach Board of Directors. My skills, such as they are, I've been in affordable housing for Santa Fe and Los Alamos for about close to 30 years.
Wow.
So we provide housing for low-income households. We have a home repair program, down payment assistance, and it's I do feel called to do that.
Right.
And it's I'm blessed to be able to help in this effort. Just the work that Chaplain Joe has done is just.
Were you born in New Mexico?
Born in Wisconsin. Traveled around a bit. When I came to lived in Roswell for a while, but when I came back to New Mexico from Colorado, that's I guess that would be a point where my faith journey would have started, because I was married very young, and the marriage ended, and going to a new place, new job, and it occurred to me that I really don't know very much, that I thought that I had everything figured out and that my direction was set, and it occurred to me that I did not. So I started looking for answers, and I found God. And from that point, then that's made it easier to do what I do. Because sometimes, at least with me, you think, oh, you don't have the skills or the knowledge to do a particular thing. So the one Bible verse that I would draw on then would be Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, that I can do all things through him that strengtheneth me. And that helps, because I'd get into meetings or try to do projects, and you'd have, like a lot of people, you'd have people saying, well, you can't do this. Well, I have help. I can. So that's and that's worked out well.
So how did the two of you meet?
How did
In Los Alamos. Joe was a building inspector for Los Alamos County, and I was working on a development, affordable housing development in White Rock. And so we'd put up houses, and Joe would inspect them. So even though we're both sides, I got to know him, and we've been friends for a long time.
And we worked in the same office, during that time period. And actually, Steve invited me to go to his church, and I hadn't been to church in, probably 20 years. And he invited me to go to his church, and so I went. His church at the time, I went, and I really felt comfortable there, and so that kind of thing snowballed for there, and me, for
And you're
me.
both still there now?
No.
The Lord's taken you other places.
That's it. Yep. Yes. Absolutely.
I understand.
Yes.
That happens. Absolutely. Yeah, it's like we hear so much about chessboards these days, but it's like he moves us where we need to be, where the giftings can be developed maybe more thoroughly, or where there are people that need the expertise, the understanding, the heart.
Absolutely. He'll move us to where we need to be at that time. And at that time, that was the place I needed to be. I mean, it got me into serving the homeless.
I remember I think it was the first time that like our church had periodically we'd serve meals for the homeless, but it isn't at least what it's supposed to be. It's not just the physical act of serving the meals, but it's sitting down and talking with people. It's part of the mission. So some people are more comfortable in doing that, and some people are not. And what I noticed about Joe was he just sit down, just the table. He talked to everybody, and everybody talked to him. It was genuine. It was a feeling that you have. And I remember some of the folks were kind of standing up against a wall, just being apart. But Joe embraced that, and it just took off from there.
Wow. So how long has Chaplain Joe Street Outreach
It's
been going?
It's been about 5 years is when I started what eventually became Chaplain Joe's.
Oh, okay.
You know, and when I talk about Chaplain Joe Street Outreach and our mission, I start out with saying I, because it was me, but then it's grown a lot bigger than me. We have a board of directors, we have a 501c3, you know, so I kind of segue into we, you know, from saying I and we. So it's been probably really strong 4 years, and then about a year and a half ago, we got our 501c3.
Fantastic.
You know, doing the same work and all.
And so where are you ministering?
Mostly in the Santa Fe area.
Okay.
Yes.
It is it's startling just how many folks are unhoused, and we have you know, just from what we've seen, what we do, and the interactions that we've had. But Santa Fe, you wouldn't think necessarily that there's a big issue there, but there is.
Well, it's grown exponentially too. I mean, that's what I've seen.
Absolutely, it has.
I'm very familiar with Pete's Place, and just the numbers of people on the streets, the homeless that are scattered throughout the city. That didn't used to be the case, and that's only been almost within the last 2 years. It seems like it's really.
It has gotten, yes, it has. And then, you know, one of the problems is the development, because the places people use, and there are more homeless and exponentially so, but one of the reasons you're seeing more of them is a lot of the places they used to camp, and then there used to be traditional camps, what you would think of, and most of the places they have used to do that, it has gotten developed. And so there's all this development which is pushing them into smaller places to be able to camp, which draws more attention on them.
So maybe when we come back, we can kind of explore a little bit what's happening. I know in Santa Fe that they're building so many apartments, but these people can't afford this, and also they can't get jobs. You know, a lot of times too. So
yes, that's correct.
You know, to be able to do that, but I think a lot are hurting. I mean, they need help beyond food and housing.
Part of what we talk about too with that is that it's part of its price of housing, availability of housing.
Yes.
But part of it too is some folks struggle either through mental illness,
right,
or drug use, even with being at a point where they're ready to get into a home and follow rules to be able to stay in housing. And it's you know, we see transitions from outdoors to home, but it's much more complex issue and problem than just economics.
Right.
And that's part of what, you know, we're only a very small piece of a puzzle, but you have a saying, right? That you know,
Which
can't
one?
do it.
Oh,
You have a lot of sayings.
Nobody can help everybody, but everybody can help somebody.
True.
You know, and that's one of the things that, as Steve said, we're just a piece of the puzzle. You know, so it's complex. There's different people doing different things, and we're trying to do our little piece of the puzzle the best we can and point
Amen.
people to
Yeah.
other pieces of the puzzle.
That's what it's going to take. Well,
And you know, that saying that I just said really helped me and helps me now when I try to get overwhelmed. You know, it's like, look, we helped 60 people today, but look at all the other people that are out there that we didn't.
right.
Well, yes, that's true, but just think of the 60 people we did help and how much that means to them.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. How much it means to him.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we're going to take a short pause here.
Okay.
And we want to remind you that we have a prayer line, and we've got awesome prayer partners. We love our prayer partners, and they love to pray for you. And so call 505-345-4165. And regardless of where you are, you know, the one thing that the enemy likes to do is try to get you separated from others, from help, make you feel like nobody cares. We do care, and you are not alone. Please give us a call. We love you. We'll be right back after this. Well, we're back with Chaplain Joe Dudziak and Steve Brugger, and we've been talking about the issue with people that are homeless, that are out. Some are in shelters, some are out on the streets, and either one of you just take it where you want to go. But what is the main reason, would you say, or is it too simplistic to say there's a main reason why people are in those places?
I think it's overly simplistic.
Okay.
Because really, you know, people ask, who are the homeless?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the homeless aren't just a group of people over here.
Mm-hmm.
The homeless are a cross-section of society. And what I've heard a lot of unhoused people tell me is, well, it was a triathlon, or it was the perfect storm. You know, maybe they had an illness. You know, then they got divorced. Then they didn't have a house, and then they wind up, you know, a lot of times doing drugs and alcohol to kind of ease the pain, and they wind up out in the street. But really, the homeless aren't that much different than the housed. In people who are housed, you have people that are alcoholics, drug addicts, mental illness, you know, trauma, suffered a lot of trauma in life. But for whatever reason, they're able to hold it together and hold on to what they have. And it's a lot easier to be doing those things when you're hidden away in a house. When you're out on the streets, it's a lot more visible what you're doing. So it's really a cross-section of society. You know, you have your extroverts, your introverts, just like people that are housed, but they're unhoused. You know, the people on the streets have suffered a lot of trauma mostly, and a lot of people on the streets have had head injuries. Mm-hmm. And so they've had traumatic brain injuries. I'd say probably at least 60% have had traumatic brain injuries.
Wow.
Yes. And that's not a scientific number.
Right.
That's just a personal observation.
Yeah.
So there are physical issues, as Joe said, mental issues, and I would think spiritual issues as well. That if for whatever you'd experienced in life, if you feel that no one believes in you, that you may not have faith in God, or that anybody cares about you, then it's difficult to do anything. And one of the things which what Chaplain Joe Street Outreach does is, we stress it, and Joe does this, is it's not just the provision of survival supplies, but it's compassion, it's listening, that somebody cares enough about you to go out to a camp to talk and bring a sack lunch, and that's it's important, and that maybe you can jump in here. Maybe that for some folks that can get them if somebody believes in me or cares or anything, then there's take another step forward, and and things could improve quite a bit from there. So it's part of what Chaplain Joe Street Outreach does.
And that's absolutely true. And we meet the people where they're at, and that's different than a lot of people and organizations. We'll go out if they're in a tent, if they're under a tree, if they're living in a bush. We go out and we sit with them, we talk. So that's very important, because right there it tells them that we care about them. And like what Steve said, particularly the younger people, but I guess people at any age, a lot of times feel that nobody cares about them. But when you go and find where they're at and sit down and listen to them and look at them and treat them like the human being they are, then that really does a lot. And we do survival equipment. We bring sleeping bags, tents, tarps. One of the things we do is give out sleeping bag packages, which is a 0-degree bag, socks, gloves, what else? Socks, gloves, granola bars, hand warmers,
Water.
Wet wipes, yes, water. We don't put them in the packages because we figured they might bust and then they have a wet.
Right.
But we have them hand them out while we do. And that's kind of what got us going, was those sleeping bag packages. But we hand out a lot of other stuff. We give out information, because what we're geared towards is, although we do reach the people out on the street and all, but we really want to reach the people that are out and don't or seldom get to social services, which there's more people out on the streets than there are in the shelters.
Right.
And so they don't know what services are available. So we're able to give them, okay, go over here to get this, go over here, point them to the different agencies, which we work with all the different agencies also. And then, as Steve said, compassion. We treat them with compassion, we give them conversation. And out of all those 4 things that I just mentioned, I think I mentioned 4 things, you might think that a 0-degree sleeping bag would be the most important. But really, it is very important. But treating them with compassion is every bit as important as that 0-degree sleeping bag.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times they aren't treated with compassion by people. And we sit there, and like I said, we look past the behavior, past what they look like, and we look at the human being that they are. We come to the camps, we bring God's love to the people.
We see them. It's to us, they're visible. They're people. That's it'd be difficult to be in a place in life where you're invisible, and then people pass by and they don't see you or they don't talk to you. So just the little bit that we can counter that hopefully goes a long way.
It's like it's a generational situation of mistreatment, of people not knowing how to parent their children.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and it gets passed down. If people don't somehow deal with their trauma and learn how to not pass it on, it gets passed on from generation to generation. I mean, at the shelter we see, and at the camps also, we see parents with their adult children. And it's just they don't know how to not pass it down. They were raised a certain way.
Well, they don't know how to relay value.
Yes, absolutely.
Because they don't feel valued.
Yes,
So
yes,
it's
it's really generational, and it gets passed on. Unless somebody does something to learn how to not pass it on.
It's so sad,
It is very sad.
And
yes.
And then we were talking about the drug issue. So,
yes.
How much of all this can you attribute to drugs?
Quite a bit. That's depending upon what you take, it can change. I mean, no new information here, but we've seen it. That it can change who you are, what you think, how you feel, how you don't feel. That's your ability to cope, your ability to, life is challenging, and you have to have patience to go through, navigate paperwork or interview process, relationships, job, and that we've seen drug use can compromise the ability to navigate through any and all of that. So it's a big issue which is seemingly getting bigger, every year, and we see it with more people being
Right,
outdoors every year.
You know, and another thing, you know, is the majority of people, I don't think, just do the drugs to have fun and then they get into it. I mean, I'm
Right.
sure there are a certain
It's more like a
percentage that does.
medication.
It's more like a
numbing agent.
medication, yeah. People with mental illness, brain injuries, just trauma, you know, just being traumatized with traumatic events. And so, you know, more often it's the traumatic events and all that leads to the drug use. And sometimes it's just a mere fact of somebody that's on the street. They never did drugs and alcohol. They wind up out on the street and they don't know how to cope, so they turn to drugs and alcohol to try to ease the pain. Or maybe they've never abused it, maybe they've used it a little. But then when they're out on the street, I mean, you know, I don't think we can understand how traumatizing
So
that
how
truly
many
is.
family units are out there?
We personally don't see a lot of family units. I mean, there is a pretty good social services that try to get families
Together, yeah,
together.
keep them together.
People with children, the children are generally with an aunt or uncle or parent, you know, and I've had people on the streets, you know, mothers say, there's no way I would put my child through this. You know, so they're you know, I think where you might see a little bit more families is in cars.
Right.
And there's become a more and more, you know, it's kind of a progression. You know, you're housed, then you wind up losing your house, then you have a car full of stuff that you're living in, then you lose your car, and then you're out on the street.
Cars, trailers, maybe trailers that aren't that habitable, but at least have walls.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that may be more hidden from view. But
Right. And now, Joe, you were telling me earlier that about the difference between, I mean, for a while it was like heroin was the big,
The worst.
the worst,
The
and
worst
now we've
ever.
got fentanyl.
Yes, that is correct. The fentanyl craze is just terrible. I mean, it's very, very plentiful. You know, it used to be you had people with their drug of choice, you know, say crystal meth, you know, speed or heroin, opiates. And now the fentanyl is so plentiful and cheap that almost everybody that does drugs are doing the fentanyl, you know. And it is it's much stronger than heroin,
So
and
dangerous.
it's much shorter, lasts a lot shorter than heroin. You know, so it's more like, you know, with the heroin, it's kind of like a curve like that, whereas fentanyl, it's up, down, up, down, up, down. So it makes it very hard when people get addicted to that to function when you need it so often, and then it gets you so high, you know, that, you know, you can't function to work. And then if you don't get it, you get violently ill, way worse than heroin withdrawals. You know, so if you don't get it, you know, some people within like 4 hours, some people less, some people more. But if you don't get that fentanyl within that time period, you're going to be violently ill. And that scares the heck out of the people out there that are using it.
Right.
Yes.
Oh man. So how do you keep going with everything, at least financially, or with the things that you pass out? Do you have support from outside organizations, or?
Yes, actually, I think we have a pretty good business plan. We have no paid employees. We get donations. We work all off donations. The more we can bring in, the more we give out to the people out on the street.
It is a spiritual business plan in that it's 100% funded by donations, no government money. And the thinking is that if it's a real problem, so many good people out there, and they donate money or their time to help with this, and that we think that if we'd like to, we manage things this way, that if there's people are willing to give, we're willing to be out there and serve. If not, then we wouldn't. But that rather than just depend upon government grants this is the way we prefer to do things.
You know, and one of the things with accepting government money is there's a lot of strings attached,
yeah.
and you have to do, you know, you have to spend it a certain way. You got to do certain documentation, and we feel that we know better than the government what needs to be done, and particularly the federal government, even the state government, even the local. And even if you get you know, something locally to where they did have the pulse on what's needed, well, maybe stuff changes, stuff kind of moves around. And so the way we work, it gives us more freedom, and we can actually do the money where it really needs to go, when it
Right.
needs to go.
Well, we're coming up on another pause here.
Okay.
So we want to again remind you about the prayer line, 505-345-4165. And I just want to say to those of you that pray for this station, thank you. Prayer is the most important thing any organization can have. And also for your participation financially, we really appreciate it. We're a big family here, and we love all of you. We're so thankful for you. We'll be right back. Well, we're back with Chaplain Joe Dudziak, founder of Chaplain Joe's Street Outreach, and Steve Brugger, who's a member, or are you chairman?
Just a member of the board.
A member of the board, okay. All right. So in our discussion of this outreach and reaching out to people that are homeless, that are out on the streets, some that are in shelters, do you ever feel threatened?
No, I don't. Not out on the streets. I very, very seldom feel threatened.
Yeah.
In the shelter, it's a little different story. And I'm not saying anything bad about the shelters.
Right.
Pete's, I volunteer there, they're great. But out on the streets, people are in their homes, so to speak. Whereas at the shelter, you're throwing 100 people together. And that can be difficult for anybody to be with 100 people, all the different personalities, the you know, different dynamics. So,
Having said that, there are precautions that that are taken. That hiking down into a encampment, you have your favorite bell. It's a little,
Oh, really?
ringing the bell just to let folks know that that we're coming, and that not to be surprised. And so that helps quite a bit. And but the amount of time, particular that Joe spent at the shelter and outdoors, there's some familiarity that with him, and but it extends to the other volunteers that go out as well.
So I know this is your question, and I'm putting it back to you, but but what makes you think you can make a big difference? I mean, it's such a huge.
it's a huge problem, and just like I quoted earlier, nobody can help everybody, but everybody can help somebody. So
Yes.
we're not helping everybody. We're helping everybody that we can.
Yeah.
But the people that we do help, it means the world to them. You know, like sometimes we'll go out, we'll help 60 people. And it's like, well, but what about all these others we didn't get to? And
Right.
then that's when I got to think, okay, well, we didn't get to these people, but the people we helped, it really means
Yeah,
the world
yeah.
to them. And you know.
So do you have any testimonies of people that you've helped that were able to maybe shake free of?
Absolutely. I mean, I can't think of any right offhand in my mind, but yes, there are people. And it used to be that they would go ahead and give people first and last month's rent, or pay it, deposit first and last. Well, this is like 10 or 12 years ago. 3 months later, they're back out on the streets. And so the social services have gotten really good about realizing you can't just throw the people in the house, even if they seem very stable. It sounds easy. Okay, you just got to pay your bills on time. Well, it's not that easy for the people who haven't had to do it for a long time.
Yeah.
And some people will always need help paying with the paying them and when to pay them and how to pay them. But other people, it just takes a few months of where you're showing them how to do it, and then they snap. Okay, now I understand what needs to be done.
But we've seen success stories, and it is maybe not 100% or 75 or 50 or lower than that. But one of the things which at least to the question, is that it's important, even if you help one person, just one person, to make it to a point where they're independently housed, have a job, have a support system, which we've seen. That is good. That is making a difference, and we're not arrogant that we think we can do, on a great scale, big scale. But if we can help one person here, one person there, if we feel we can do it, then maybe even others that watch what Chaplain Joe Street Outreach does in their part of their lives, they can maybe help one person. I mean, it's how things get done.
And one of the things that we do is we're not out to solve homelessness. I mean, we would like to. We work with other organizations. We're a piece of the puzzle, and we do work with other pieces. But one of the things we do is we try to keep people alive to live another day, because tomorrow might be when their life starts turning around. So we're keeping them alive and comfortable. Is that okay if I tell you a little bit about the catalyst for Chaplain Joe Street Outreach?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, what the catalyst to Chaplain Joe Street Outreach was about 11, 12 years ago. I started volunteering at the shelter, and it's a low barrier shelter, so most everybody can come in. But if you can't come in, and that's usually due to drug use on property or violence, I was seeing, and I noticed this more when it was 20 degrees, 10 degrees, 0 degrees, we were turning people away because they weren't allowed in. And they might not have even had a proper jacket. And they were telling me, hey, Joe, I had to walk all night the last few nights, because and I've been told this a bunch, because I didn't know any other way to stay alive. And so I was seeing that, so I started handing out sleeping bags. And then that got me out into the unhoused communities that don't come to the shelter. And so I started seeing more and more of what they needed. But the catalyst, and we do other things like I mentioned earlier, but one of the catalysts was this, what evolved into the sleeping bag package, which I said was in it 0 degree bag, sleeping bag, and other items. That was the catalyst. And this year, the first year I gave out 16, and that was just sleeping bags. And then, now it's turned into we. And since October 1st, Chaplain Joe Street Outreach has distributed 375 sleeping bag packages.
Wow.
Yes, and for $60, that allows us to purchase a sleeping bag package with all items I mentioned and get it out to a homeless person. So that is saving lives. We are saving lives. And people, at least some people, aren't having to walk all night because they have a sleeping bag that they can climb into and be
the
warm.
most important thing of all is that you're giving, you are Yeshua's hands extended.
Yes.
You are bringing him to them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And it's through love.
Yes.
I mean, love can break down all kinds of barriers. And we know that he's the ultimate healer, but you can bring that message of hope,
yes,
to them too. So.
Yes, and like I said, just the conversation with them, treating them like the human being they are, bringing God's love to them, is every bit as important as a 0 degree sleeping bag.
Yeah.
Most people haven't given up hope, so that's just one little push. So that's just a little help. So
and Steve, you said we can't do it all, but God can. and he can multiply what you do. I mean,
absolutely.
And you're willing, I'm sure, to help others, if they want to get out there and go for it, then
absolutely.
The more the merrier, so
absolutely.
to speak.
There's a lot of work to be done. And there's a lot of people that want to help, with financial donations,
Good.
And also with getting out there and helping us put the sleeping bag packages together, and all the different things that are involved in getting these items out to the unhoused.
We're putting together lunches, peanut butter and jelly, the lunch of choice. That's but different individuals, churches
Yes.
have done that on a pretty regular basis. So they put it together, and we deliver them. So kind of like, yeah, we're a Uber Eats for the unhoused. And everybody feels good about helping. That's so that we can play a small part in that. That's it'd be a pretty powerful thing.
And we also work with the different organizations, so that we can tell people the different shelters to go to.
Right.
Another awesome organization and person out on the street is Street Homeless Animal Project. Karen Kane runs that, and she does an awesome job. If you drive around Santa Fe, look and you'll see most of the all the dogs have winter coats on. And those came from Karen.
Really?
Yes, and
Wow.
she really takes good care. She takes them to get neutered, spayed, get their shots, get medical care if they've been injured, and she's a real awesome person, and we work closely with her.
Yeah. So what about the dogs? Why?
Why? Well, I mean, it's lonely out there, and who doesn't want a companion? And a lot of people criticize the homeless for owning animals, and there is a small, I'm sure, amount of abuse, but the animals out on the street are treated better than most of the animals that are housed. For one, the person's with them 24/7, and that homeless person generally will feed the dog. If there's not enough food, the dog gets fed before they eat.
Well, I always felt like it had a lot to do with safety.
Safety too. Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, because
safety.
the dog will protect them.
Yes.
We've seen that just going into camps that the sentinel barks, and yeah, it's protection too.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of it's just like the sentinel. If you're
And
keeping,
keeping
somebody
each other
could.
warm.
Yeah, absolutely. People could sneak up and do you harm, but if you have a dog that's there, they're, besides physically protecting you, they're also
Right.
warning you.
Right. So, how can people pray for you?
Well, we can use all the prayer that we can get, and it's not about us.
Right.
It's about the unhoused, and so they can pray that people continue to donate so that we can continue to give out to the homeless, and just pray.
And
that,
I'm sure we have your information that will be up on the bottom of the screen for how to get in touch with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And well, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. It's so needed.
And it's a true calling. I mean, it's bigger. It's bigger than us. It's large.
Well, and thanks for letting us come here to talk about it. And
Absolutely.
Yes. It's important to get the word out to people. What's going on and what people need.
It is, and it's kind of like rather than being a critic, be a part of the solution.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's been very eye-opening to hear what you're doing, and because I've wondered, I knew about Pete's. I mean, I know about, was it LinkedIn or
LifeLink.
LifeLink.
Yeah,
there we
LifeLink.
go. St. Elizabeth's and some of the other places there in town, but yeah, there's just not enough space to go around.
No, there isn't, and everybody just needs to do their little piece of the puzzle. And ours is a real shiny piece.
Well, it's I can see why the Lord is using you. It's like you said, it's a gift, and you're operating in it, and that's all He's asking of us, and that ultimately we give Him all the glory.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Amen.
And these are His creation, and just remind, excuse me, remind all of us that we have to learn to look through the eyes of our Father. Let us see, Father, let us see people the way you see them. You created them with a special plan and a purpose in their lives, and you love them extravagantly. And so, Father, just thank you that you allow us to see, and also that we, like Chaplain Joe is saying, listen with your ears and hear with your ears their hearts, so that we can treat them the way that they deserve to be treated, with respect, with love, and whatever else that the Lord's leading. But don't just dismiss people because they're out there on the corners, and I mean, they're everywhere these days, and they're trying to do what they can. But thank you for shedding light on why that is.
Thank you for
so
having
that people
us.
can understand that. We really appreciate it.
And that's one thing, like you were saying, that they're all the Lord's people.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone out there is an important human being with an important mission in life, so to speak, you know.
We've talked, you know, in the past about the problem with abortion and aborting, and it's like that child had a destiny.
Yes.
God had a plan. And that's true for these people too.
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely.
So
God has
we
plans
can't-
for them.
Just like
Big
He has
plans.
for each one of us. And thank
Yes.
you for hearing His voice and walking in His plan for your lives. And looking forward to maybe in the future hearing some more about what's going on.
Absolutely,
And how everything is
absolutely.
increasing. We want to thank you for joining us today. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May He make His face to shine upon you. May He lift up His countenance upon you and give you His everlasting shalom. Shalom, shalom.